When it comes to making someone think about you constantly, the biggest misconception is that you have to be loud, bold, or constantly present. The truth is, the most powerful kind of influence is often the most subtle. It's not about grand gestures or trying to impress someone every second of the day. It's about creating small, emotionally charged moments that settle quietly in their subconscious and echo back to them again and again. These moments don't scream for attention, they whisper, and those whispers have a way of staying with someone far longer than anything loud ever could. Think about the way a certain song brings someone to mind, or the way a scent can stop you in your tracks with memories. That's not by accident, that's how our minds work. We are wired to emotionally attach to things that evoke feeling. So when you want someone to think about you around the clock, it's not about forcing attention, it's about creating a subtle emotional blueprint in their mind, one that they can't help but revisit. This kind of influence is built during the moments that feel the most natural, when you're laughing at a shared joke and you add a playful tease that becomes an inside reference. When you give a compliment that's unexpected and deeply specific, like you have this calm energy that makes people feel safe. Do you know that? That's not a surface-level flattery. That's a line that's going to echo in his head every time he wonders why you made such a lasting impression. It's about making someone feel something uniquely different when they're with you. It's also in your restraint, in not oversharing everything all at once, in letting there be space between interactions so that the brain, starved for completion, fills in the gaps with curiosity. The less predictable you are, without being confusing, the more mentally engaging you become. You're not withholding to be manipulative. You're simply letting your presence create a rhythm he begins to notice is missing when you're not around. That absence becomes a presence in his thoughts, and perhaps the most underestimated form of influence. It's in how you mirror and elevate his identity. When you reflect back to him the best parts of himself, not in a fake, pandering way, but by genuinely noticing his strengths, his quirks, the things he might not even value about himself yet, people become addicted to the people who see them more clearly than they see themselves. If you can hold up that mirror with kindness, depth, and a little bit of mystery, you're not just staying on his mind. You're becoming part of how he sees himself. That's lasting. Subtle influence isn't about pressure or perfection. It's about being intentional in the way you connect, the energy you leave behind after every interaction. It's in the eye contact that holds just a beat longer, in the way you say his name when he's not expecting it, in the tone of voice that makes him feel like he's the only one in the room. These micro moments, when done right, weave together into a powerful psychological thread that ties you to his emotional memory. So while everyone else is chasing attention, you'll be doing something far more effective, leaving a lasting imprint. One that lingers in his thoughts long after the conversation ends, long after the date is over, long after the world gets noisy again. And that's how you become unforgettable, not by being everywhere, but by being in the right moments, in the right way, at the right emotional frequency. There's a powerful psychological principle that most people have never heard of, but it explains a lot about why certain people get stuck in our heads even when they're not trying. It's called the Zeigarnik effect. In simple terms, it's the brain's tendency to remember unfinished tasks more than completed ones. Now, let's apply that to romance, because the emotional implications are game-changing. When a conversation ends with everything tied up in a neat little bow, your brain registers it as complete and moves on. But when an interaction ends with an open loop, a question left unanswered, a playful tease without a resolution, or a moment of tension that never quite got resolved, that loop stays open in the mind. The brain wants to close it. It keeps revisiting that moment, trying to resolve it, replaying it over and over again like an unresolved chord in a song. That's the power of the Zeigarnik effect in human connection. It's the art of leaving just enough mystery, just enough emotional tension, just enough unsaid to create a mental echo. It's what makes him wonder what you meant by that, or why you didn't reply right away, or what you were really thinking in that moment. This isn't about playing games. It's about being intentional in how you engage. It's about creating experiences that have depth, that have layers, that leave room for curiosity to grow. Let's say you're having a conversation, and instead of answering every question directly, you occasionally respond with something like, "That's a story for another time," or "You'd have to really earn that answer." It's playful. It's subtle, but it leaves a thread dangling in the air. It makes you a little harder to categorize, a little more intriguing to figure out, and humans love puzzles, especially emotional ones. You can also use this effect by being the person who interrupts a pattern. If he's used to people responding immediately, your pause creates a break in the rhythm. If he's used to being validated instantly, your quiet confidence and measured responses create a mental tension. That's not withholding, that's presence. It shows you're not rushing to fill every silence or over-explain yourself. And that calm control, it's magnetic. It makes him want to know more, to pursue the missing pieces. Even your body language can use this effect. A look held just a second too long, a smile that doesn't explain itself, a moment of eye contact that ends before it's expected. These small, unfinished cues invite attention. They spark thought, they linger. Now, this doesn't mean you should become unpredictable just for the sake of it. People feel unsafe around someone who's erratic or inconsistent. But strategic mystery, that's something entirely different. That's intimacy by design. It makes someone feel drawn to you without knowing exactly why. It's the perfect balance between being open and being just out of reach. Ultimately, the Zygarnik effect teaches us that not everything should be wrapped up neatly. When it comes to romance, completion isn't always the goal. Emotional openness is powerful, yes, but so is a little space, a little wonder, a little "what was that about?" Because the moment you leave him with something unfinished, you leave him with something to return to, again and again, and that's how you become a lingering presence, not by being loud, but by being unforgettable in your silence. Not by saying everything, but by knowing exactly when to say nothing at all. If you've ever wondered why someone becomes the first person we want to call when something amazing happens, or the only person we think of when everything goes wrong, that's the effect of emotional priming. It's a psychological trick that doesn't just make someone think of you. It makes them feel something the moment your name crosses their mind. And when you become emotionally primed into someone's life, you're not just a thought, you're a feeling. And feelings are what people become addicted to. Here's how it works. The brain is always creating associations. We don't just remember people for who they are, we remember them for how they make us feel. And over time, certain emotions get linked to certain people. If every time he's around you, he feels a boost of calm, excitement, motivation, or even that fluttery tension of flirtation, your presence becomes associated with that emotional state. You don't have to be physically present for it to activate. Eventually, just a thought of you triggers that same emotional sensation. That's emotional priming, and that's powerful. So how do you create that connection? It starts with being intentional in how you show up emotionally. What kind of energy do you bring into the room when you talk to him? Do you bring calmness when he's stressed? Do you bring fun and spontaneity when life feels routine? Do you listen without judgment, creating a space where he feels understood in ways he rarely does? These emotional patterns don't just feel good in the moment. They create a blueprint in his mind. Imagine every interaction like adding a drop of emotional ink into a glass of water. 1 or 2 drops don't change much, but over time, the whole glass takes on that color. That's how memories work. That's how associations are built. And once your presence becomes linked to a positive emotional shift, his brain starts craving you not logically, but emotionally. That craving is what keeps him thinking about you, not because you asked for his attention, but because you became his emotional home base. It's also about knowing when to connect. Reach out when you intuitively sense he needs comfort, a distraction, or support before he even asks. It shows emotional intelligence and those well-timed messages. Something as simple as "I know your meeting was today, how'd it go?" can spark a wave of connection because they hit exactly when he's most open. You're not just a presence, you're a source of emotional relief or celebration or encouragement. That's what lingers, but emotional priming isn't just about being the nice person or the always supportive voice. It's also in being the one who challenges him to be more. People remember those who stir them. When you help him see a version of himself he wants to grow into. When you mirror back his potential, not just his current self, you don't just feel good to him. You matter to him. That's a much deeper connection. Ultimately, emotional priming turns you into more than a person. You become an emotional symbol, a mood, a moment, a trigger for a feeling he wants to keep returning to. That's why people suddenly think of someone when they hear a certain song, or smell a familiar cologne, or walk past a coffee shop where a special moment once happened. Because those moments are primed. They're linked, and no matter how busy life gets, the brain will always return to emotional anchors. So the real trick isn't to constantly fight for someone's attention. The real power lies in becoming the emotion they don't want to live without. When it comes to staying on someone's mind, one of the most magnetic combinations you can embody is mystery paired with authenticity. Most people think these two traits are opposites, but in reality, they are the perfect balance of what draws someone in and keeps them hooked. Authenticity is what makes someone trust you. Mystery is what makes them crave you, and when you can master both without losing yourself, you create a presence that's unforgettable. Let's start with authenticity. This is the foundation. It's about being real, grounded, and emotionally honest. It means not trying to be someone you're not just to impress him. It's when you own your story, your values, your quirks, and you share those things in a way that feels effortless and unforced. Authenticity is magnetic because it's rare. People are tired of curated personalities. They're drawn to those who can be both self-aware and unapologetically themselves. When you speak from that place, it doesn't just catch attention. It creates emotional safety. And emotional safety is the beginning of real intimacy. But here's the twist. Too much transparency too quickly can kill attraction. Oversharing everything up front doesn't always build connection. It can feel like you've handed over the whole book before someone's even read the first chapter. That's where mystery steps in. Mystery isn't about hiding things, it's about pacing. It's about letting your story unfold in a way that invites curiosity, that makes him lean in, not out. Think of it like a good movie. The best films don't tell you the whole plot in the first 5 minutes. They give you enough to care, but not enough to predict everything. You stay engaged because you want to know more. You feel invested. You wonder where it's all going. The same principle applies in attraction. When you let a little silence hang in the air, when you don't always explain your every thought, when you occasionally say, "That's a story for later," you create that same emotional suspense. Mystery is also about how you carry yourself. It's the way you can be present and warm, but not overly available. It's when you share something meaningful, but stop just before you've told him everything. It's in the confident way you exit a conversation, making him wonder what you're doing next. It's in the unanswered text, not because you're playing games, but because you're genuinely immersed in a life that's full and rich and not completely centered on him. That's powerful. The key is you're not creating mystery by being confusing. You're doing it by being intriguing. There's a huge difference. Confusion repels. Intrigue captivates. And the way you achieve intrigue is by giving someone a sense that there's more to you than they've seen, that they are only scratching the surface, that there are stories, passions, dreams, and layers they haven't yet discovered, and that they want to. When you combine that with genuine authenticity, when your values are clear, your presence is sincere, and your intentions are honest, you become unforgettable, because now he doesn't just think about what he knows about you, he thinks about what he doesn't know. He replays your conversations, looking for clues. He starts noticing the pauses, the laughter, the quiet confidence, and he wants more. That's when you stop being just another person in the room, and you start becoming the mystery that feels emotionally real. The one he trusts and yet still wants to figure out, the one who makes him feel seen and yet still keeps him wondering, and that, right there, is the magic tension that makes someone think about you long after the moment ends. Have you ever caught a whiff of a specific scent and suddenly found yourself transported to a memory you hadn't thought about in years? Maybe it was a certain song, a place, or even a texture, something so small yet instantly powerful. That's the magic of sensory and memory triggers. They are the secret backdoor to the emotional brain, and if you understand how to use them intentionally, you can create moments so impactful that someone doesn't just remember you, they feel you long after you're gone. Our brains are wired to hold onto experiences tied to the senses. These connections are processed and stored in ways that bypass logic and go straight to emotion. That's why sensory memories, like smell, sound, and touch, are often the most vivid. And when you associate yourself with a powerful sensory experience, you become mentally and emotionally tied to it. You become anchored in their memory. Let's start with scent. Scent is one of the most powerful and underused tools in attraction. It's directly linked to the part of the brain responsible for emotion and memory. If you have a signature scent, something unique, alluring, and consistent, every time he smells that scent in the future, whether it's on someone else, on a scarf, or drifting through the air, his brain will immediately associate it with you. That's not just presence, that's legacy. Pick something that fits who you are, bold and spicy, soft and floral, clean and understated, and wear it consistently. Scent doesn't just fill a space, it claims it. Sound works the same way. Think about how you can use music to your advantage. Maybe it's a song that plays during a special moment together. Maybe it's a playlist you made for him. Over time, those songs stop being just music. They become emotional timestamps. The next time he hears that chorus or that melody, it won't be just background noise, it'll be you. Your voice, your laugh, your presence. Even specific words and phrases can become memory triggers. Maybe you have a unique way of saying goodbye. Maybe there's a phrase you use when you're teasing him. These little things, when repeated just enough, embed themselves in his mental world. And the beauty of it is, the next time he hears that phrase, even from someone else, he'll think of you. Don't overlook touch either. A certain type of touch, like a light brush on the arm during a laugh, a hug that lingers just 1 second longer than expected, or even the way you playfully nudge him when you're joking. These physical gestures are recorded by the body. Touch is intimate, it's primal, and when it's attached to joy, safety, or romantic tension, it becomes a physical memory his body will crave again. You can even create triggers using visuals. Wear a specific color when you're around him often. Accessorize with something he'll notice, something that becomes your thing. Then one day, when he sees that same color or item on someone else, he'll feel that flash of recognition, that tug, that subtle reminder of you. The goal here isn't to overwhelm him with sensory overload. It's to be intentional with small details. When you pair a sensory cue with a meaningful emotional moment, it becomes unforgettable. It becomes a shortcut to the way you made him feel. And it's those feelings, not just your physical presence, that keep someone coming back again and again. So while others are relying on words or presence alone, you'll be embedding yourself in his senses, in his environment, in his memories, and in his emotions. And once someone starts associating the world around them with you, that's when the real magic happens. The most unforgettable people in our lives don't stay with us because of what they said or what they did. They stay because of how they made us feel. That's what an emotional signature is. It's the invisible imprint you leave behind after every interaction. It's the aftertaste of an experience with you. And if you want someone to think about you 24/7, it's not enough to simply be present. You need to leave something behind that lingers, something uniquely yours. An emotional signature is like your personal brand of energy. It's what someone feels in the silence after you leave the room. It's in the thoughts that resurface days later when they're lying in bed or driving alone. The best part, you don't need to chase attention to achieve this. You just need to be intentional about how you show up. Start by asking yourself, what emotion do you want to be remembered for? Is it warmth, inspiration, comfort, excitement? Once you know that, you can begin to shape the way you interact, speak, and listen around that feeling. You're not trying to fake anything. You're amplifying the truest part of you in a way that resonates deeper than surface-level attraction. One of the most effective ways to do this is through emotional contrast. That's when you surprise someone by bringing a moment of feeling they didn't expect. When someone is having a hard day and you offer a calm presence instead of more noise, that sticks. When they expect small talk and you bring depth, that creates contrast. When they think you'll be flirty and instead you drop a moment of real vulnerability, that makes them pause and feel, and that pause, that's where you plant your emotional signature. Another powerful way to leave this imprint is through mirroring emotional depth. When someone shares something with you, especially something personal, how you respond can either be forgettable or unforgettable. If you respond with a script, they'll forget the moment. If you respond with real presence, if you listen with your eyes, validate what they're saying, and make them feel deeply seen, that's the kind of interaction that stays. People don't remember conversations, they remember connection. And let's talk about your exit. Most people underestimate the power of the way they leave a conversation, a message, or even a date. Your exit is your signature moment. It's the last note of the song. It's what plays on loop in their mind when you're no longer around. Don't just say goodbye. Leave them with a feeling. It could be a quiet smile that says, I know something you don't. It could be a comment that subtly alludes to the next time you'll see each other. It could be a lingering glance, or even a simple, you'll be thinking about me later. Done playfully, that becomes its own prophecy. The truth is, emotional signatures are not about being the loudest voice in someone's life. They are about being the most felt. When you can consistently create meaningful, emotionally resonant experiences, when you can be the highlight in the chaos of someone's day, you stop being a person they casually remember. You become a person they can't help but return to in their mind. And the beautiful part, this isn't manipulation. It's emotional presence. It's intentional connection. It's the rare art of being so genuinely impactful that even in your absence, you're still there. That's when you go from being someone he knows to someone he feels, and that, more than anything else, is what keeps someone thinking about you, morning, noon, and night.